But today I'm going to be going over a deal that I'm specifically working on in Florida right now. We've got it tied up under contract. This is generally like a deal breaker for me, except for this is like a 20-acre parcel. So you can hunt on this, you could ATV. It's a bit of a minefield if you don't know what you're looking for. That could be very expensive. I've spent probably about $50,000, $60,000 on 20 acres. That's approximately $100,000 in profit. It's so much easier than Canada to find comps on properties and find out what stuff's worth. I think that's a big negotiating strong point. Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Andrew Hines here again for another solo episode. I really wanted Jake to be on this one, but I've been so insanely busy and so is he. So normally when we record is Mondays, and yeah, that hasn't been working super great just because Mondays are packed. But today I'm going to be going over a deal that I'm specifically working on in Florida right now. We've got it tied up under contract, and I figured it would be cool to do an episode on one of the land deals we're doing to show you why that's cool, how a lot of money can be made in land in Florida specifically, but around the US and even in Canada. And some of the thought process that goes in, some of the tools I work with, and how we protect our interests, because we're buying land around 50 cents on the dollar for current value. So of course that takes a lot of outbound marketing in order to get those leads. And we're really relying on people that just, the property doesn't owe them anything. They've owned it for a long time. They bought it for way, way less, and our number is going to make sense for them. Those are the ones we're working for. Same idea with the houses, something that Matt Pichet, who's my business partner on these, has been doing for a long time, and we've just taken our skills, mainly his skills, for the off-market acquisition down south. So I'll do a little bit of a screen share here. So this is a property. We've got it tied up right now, and I'll give some of the details. So basically we've got this parcel here, and that is a comp right there. But what you can see here is actually a power line. So these are power transmission, high voltage power transmission lines running through the parcel. And this is generally like a deal breaker for me, except for this is like a 20-acre parcel. So you can hunt on this, you could ATV, dirt bike. One of the things that I look for, of course, I'm looking at wetlands, how much wetlands is on a site, because if something's wetlands, you can't build it, but you also can't build on it if you don't have legal access. So you might have, say, physical access, like somebody built a driveway across somebody else's property without a permit or without any permissions, so to speak, but that's not legally recognized, and you might not be able to build it. So it's a bit of a minefield if you don't know what you're looking for. So I'll just go and show you some of the stuff that I look at when we're looking at deals. So I turn on two different overlays, and one of them is floodplain and the other is wetlands. So the floodplain is the lighter blue, wetlands is the darker blue. Wetlands you can't build in. Floodplain you can build in it, but you got to build your house up out of the floodplain. So that involves trucking in a bunch of sand or fill and actually elevating the house so that if a flood did happen, you're, say, in the 100-year floodplain, meaning they think once every 100 years you'll flood, you just got to make sure you're above that. So that could be very expensive. I've spent probably about $50,000, $60,000 on a house to elevate it out of a floodplain, bringing in extra fill. So that can get expensive, but it still has a value to people, and people don't often equate that. They don't really understand that that's what it's going to cost. So those properties still transact. So what I'm looking at here, obviously I'm quite pleased. I'm going to look at the comps and see, hey, did they have wetlands on them? In this case, I can't find a market comp in this specific area. And that's along this power line, and then also along this road here. And one of the things that's interesting about this deal is you have this road allowance here. So we can see these two lines, and we've got the path in the middle. But if you really zoom in, it's not a maintained road. The county does not maintain that road. This is actually just ATV trails. So people have just been hitting this for ATVing, probably hunting on this land, knowing that no one's really doing anything up there, which is totally cool. Like there's a function, there's a purpose for land like that, and Florida's got a lot of land like that. But in order for us to be able to build on this, we'd have to get this road down here, taken over 3,000 feet up the street, all the way up to our property line. So yes, you can still get to this property. There's definitely an allowance for road. There's definitely a way in, probably not by car. So you can imagine I'm seeing this deal and I'm thinking, well, what's that worth to anybody? We'll look at comps, but if we're looking at comps of properties that are sold on a road, that doesn't really do much for us. So in this particular one, I'll get to the numbers. we think in a best case scenario, given the limited access to the property, given the power transmission lines, we're about $10,000 per acre on a resale. Now, there's no guarantees about that, but our strategy would be go in, buy the property for no more than $5,000 an acre, if that is true, and then relist that property for sale at the $10,000. And on 20 acres, that's approximately $100,000 in profit, less realtor fees, less any marketing that we pay, less any carrying cost. So that's a typical type of deal we'll do. Now, given the uncertainty here, we're getting multiple realtors to give us an estimate here. We originally had this tied up at $13,000 an acre because the seller told us that the road was being built imminently. And we know our offers are conditional, so we have the opportunity to review. And what we like to do is get them tied up first, and then we go in and do our due diligence, get our comps done by a local realtor. Like, we can do our own comps, but we certainly want to get local realtor opinions, because a lot of times when you speak with those local realtors, they start telling you things. Oh, well, I work with several clients in the area that are looking for land that has the following features. That property has that. Or I sold a couple of others that had similar restrictions, and here was the number. That's stuff that you can't find just by doing comps on Zillow, which of course we can go to Zillow.com and pull up comps. It's so much easier than Canada to find comps on properties and find out what stuff's worth. Like, for houses, I can figure out what houses are worth very easily. I don't think I need access to the realtor system at all. But for the nuance with land, it definitely helps to have some boots on the ground. Not to say I can't come up with a number, but it's the unique properties like this one where it's great to have them. So this is the typical type of deal we're trying to get. So we've got it tied up at 5. We renegotiated from 13 all the way down to 5,000 per acre, which hats off to Alicia, one of our acquisitions managers, for making that happen, because that's no easy task. And just the name of the game, I think there's a lot of psychology with sellers that they start getting emotionally attached to the fact that something's sold. So when we have to go back and give them potentially the quote unquote bad news that it's not worth what they thought, or we can't pay them as much as we thought we could, they're already invested in working with us. And I think that's a big negotiating strong point. So that's where we're at with this one. I'm not 100% sure we're still going to be able to pay the $5,000 an acre. It's really going to be dependent on the realtor opinions. I have the 2 opinions so far, but I still need to call them up and grill them. I'll be doing that right after I shoot this episode. And then another update. So last week I went over a subject to lead that I had and a deal I'm trying to negotiate. I presented that deal to him today. We still had to clarify some of the numbers because we still don't have his mortgage statement. So our next step is supposed to be that they're going to send over that mortgage statement, and we may be very well doing a deal that pencils at a 30% or 29% overall return on investment. So pretty pumped about that one. I think that that's a model I want to use to expand my portfolio rapidly in the US. I had a portfolio in Canada, sold it off. I still have my hospitality business, 2 different locations up in Tobermory, but I want to rebuild my portfolio that I really liquidated to exit Canada. And this seems like an absolute killer strategy for doing that. So we've got the things like land flipping, and of course we'll flip houses too, but I love the opportunity to get in on some of these and actually keep them. And these subject to with the level of return they're providing definitely seem like some good candidates for that. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed that. A little look into what we're doing in Florida with the flipping business, the off-market lead gen. These leads come in from our cold call center. Our acquisitions managers, they call them back, negotiate the deal, and then of course I get involved and vet the deals and grill the realtors and all that. Make sure we got a deal, and then we proceed to close. So that's how it works. If you're interested in lending on any of these projects, we do raise some money for this. Be sure to hit me up on Instagram at the Andrew Hines, and you can just DM me invest, and I can direct you where you can get onto the list for that. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you again next week. Hopefully we'll have Jacob by then. He's got so many great deals he wants to review, and we just haven't had a chance to sit down in the same room, but we're looking forward to it. So I'll see you then. Thank you.